In this video, we go through 5 DIY basic plumbing tips for you homeowners. Hey, welcome to the Plumbing Gurus. My name is Karsten.
My name's Clayton.
And on this channel, we strive to save you money and keep you informed on all the proper plumbing practices.
That is right.
So if you're new to this channel, smash the subscribe button and let's get into this video. All right, so in this video, we only show you 5 tips. There are lots of other things you can look for. We do actually have a proper checklist that goes through your weekly, monthly, annually, and like a seasonal checklist. We have that in the link in the description below. But these ones that we're telling you right now are kind of like the 5 most important things you want to just always keep an eye for to make sure that your house, you don't have those leaks or any problems.
All right, let's jump to the first item on the checklist. The first item on the checklist is we want to be making sure that we're checking around all the plumbing fixtures that they have no leaks.
Correct. So you're going to want to look at your sinks, toilets, tubs, your dishwashers, anything that has water running to it.
Washing machine.
Yeah, you're going to want to check them. So some of them are a little harder than others. The easiest ones to do and most common things you're going to see is probably under your sink or under your toilet. Very important places to look. You're going to want to open up your cabinets underneath your sink, check for leaks underneath there.
For underneath the sinks, you want to check around the water lines. You want to check around the drainage that attaches to the bottom of the sink. That's another good one.
And all you got to do is make sure your fingers are dry, make sure they're not wet. Cold water line, if it was freshly ran, then it's going to, just because it can condensate or feels cold, sometimes you think it might feel wet, but it's not. Like, you can tell, you look at your finger. That's the best thing to do is feel around all the plumbing, the drainage, the water lines, the valves, up and underneath where the sink is, like the actual faucets are. Check everything and use your fingers or a dry towel to make sure that there's no water there.
Absolutely. And not only do you want to be checking underneath the cabinet, you also want to be checking above the cabinet as well, where the taps are, because there are times where the cartridges will start to leak and that water will come above the cabinet. Taps are mounted to either the porcelain sink itself or whatever sink it is, or either the countertop.
And sinks themselves, sometimes, like I had my sink upstairs is a top mount and it was siliconed around and the whole thing just broke off. I had to redo it all. I had to clean it off and redo it. Just want to check to make sure there's no like breakdown of silicone around your sinks, things like that. So another thing we're going to want to look at is toilets. We mentioned sinks and toilets, these are probably 2 most important. Toilet, you just, same thing, check around the toilet valve, in behind the toilet, underneath the toilet. Keep an eye out for any signs of water or stains, water stains, because sometimes things can leak and then they dry out.
Good spot to check around the toilet as well is the tank to bowl seal. Around there's a little gasket that when the water flushes from the tank to the bowl, sometimes that gasket will dry out and it won't create a proper seal. So you want to just kind of check just around that area as well. That's a good spot to check that a lot of people don't know about. All right, so the next few things you want to look for leaks are the wash machine and a dishwasher, fridge line. Check around the base, make sure it runs properly. Check the drainage system, make sure that's good. The drainage for your wash machine will just usually run back into a standpipe behind the wash machine or a laundry box. Just make sure that hose is pushed into the drainage properly enough. Nothing is coming out, nothing is backing up.
Yeah, and the hose is coming out of the washer. You just want to check again. Sometimes it will be into like an actual white box, like you said, into the laundry box. Other times it's just 2 hose bibs there and a standpipe for a drain. If you have just 2 hose bibs or a laundry box, just check where the water line, the hoses tie into, in behind the washing machine and at the hose bibs too, and just double check for any kind of signs of leakage. Sometimes all you gotta do is just tighten it if there is a little bit of a leak.
And also too, you want to keep in mind the unit itself. Those things over time, they wear out, the seals, they'll crack. You're not just looking for the water supply and the drainage. Each unit, or depending on what appliance it is for leaks, you're also looking around it to see if the actual unit itself has a leak somewhere or a crack somewhere in the actual, like the pump could be leaking on your dishwasher or even on your washing machine. So you just want to keep that in mind as well. Tip number 2 is going to be maintenance of drainage, sink drainage, bathtub drainage, kitchen drainage. I would say once a week, once every 2 weeks, I would run a cycle of vinegar and baking soda. What this is going to do is just going to help break down whatever's sticking to the outer edges of the pipe or even that's stuck in your P-trap. Helps to kind of keep all those things flushed and keeps everything moving so you don't have any drainage problems or issues later on.
So what this is just a preventative maintenance. It'll help prolong your drains from clogging up. Just the vinegar and baking soda, it's not a treatment to fix a clogged drain. It can help with slowly draining. Generally, if that doesn't work, you're gonna have to actually snake the drain itself. Doing this often, like you said, either every couple weeks or even at least once a month type of thing to all your sinks and anywhere where you have like a P-trap, kitchen sink, vanity sink, bathtub, just pour the vinegar baking soda down. It's worth every penny. Tip number 3, check all our aerators, things that can build up crappy pressure coming out of your shower head or your sink faucet, vanity sink, kitchen sinks. They all have aerators. It's just like like a little screen that sits inside the spout. Shower heads are a bit different, but the aerators themselves, they can usually just be twisted off. You twist them off, take the shower head off. You can also just twist the hose off, depending on what kind of shower head you have. You can also, if it's just like a fixed head coming out of the wall, you just take like a crescent wrench and unscrew the shower head, pop the shower head off, and soak it in vinegar. Same thing with the aerators. If it looks like it's building up a bunch of calcium, like it's looking white, or you're having kind of not very good pressure, take them out, soak them in vinegar. Even if they're not having the problem, it doesn't hurt to just do this once a month or something like that, once every 2 months. Take your aerators off and soak them in pure vinegar, and it will do wonders for you.
Jump into number 4. It's more of a seasonal one. Shut off your hose bibs and to drain them properly on the outside of the houses. Now this one is very important if you live in an area where it drops below freezing temperatures. The reason for that is if you do not shut your hose bibs off, water freezes inside of the hose bibs, that water has nowhere to go. It's going to burst your pipes, and when it does thaw, you're going to have a huge water leak and it's going to be a disaster.
A lot of people have frost-free hose bibs. We still highly recommend you shut your water off and drain them. We have fixed countless amounts of people's frost-free hose bibs. You're supposed to take that hose off when it freezes. So if you leave the hose attached to your hose bib itself, that frost-free is rendered useless. So what we always do is we take the hose off, go downstairs, we shut the valve off to the hose bib, we go back outside again, open the hose bib wide open, back downstairs, drain it out, leave the outside open all winter so that if there is some residual left in there and it freezes, it's got somewhere to go. Tip number 5. This one's very important. Lucky for you, you only have to do this once a year. This can prolong the life of your hot water tank. You're gonna wanna flush your hot water tank annually, but you're not only just flushing it. When you go down there, this is also something that can be done weekly, monthly, whenever you can just, like, you're in your mechanical room, check around the hot water tank for leaks underneath. This is the type of stuff you definitely want to be doing often, because that hot water tank, if it's leaking out of the bottom of the tank, that means your tank is done. And a lot of times when it starts leaking, it's a slow leak, but most people don't notice it right away. It usually starts out just like a little small pool of water on the bottom of your hot water tank, and eventually it just blows and floods your whole basement type of thing, or your mechanical room. To protect yourself from these disastrous floods that people get, check your hot water tank often. Just go downstairs, check it, open up the mechanical room, check for water on the floor. If it's not there, you're good. Check for corrosion around the hot water tank on top. A lot of times the fittings that are screwed into the top of the tank, they start leaking, and you'll see like builds up of corrosion. Get that checked, get it fixed right away so you're not creating more problems. But the flushing thing, we do this once a year. At least every 2 years type of thing. Try to do it once a year. Just keep it in the back of your mind. Make a checklist. Like I said, we have this checklist in the link in the description below to help you, that you can print it out, put it on your fridge, keep it on your computer. What you do, shut your valve off on top of the hot water tank, and then just open it up on the bottom. Drain the whole tank.
Open up a set of taps, hot side, ideally above where the level of the tank is. That allows all the water from the tank to drain out.
It lets the air flow through, yeah. Otherwise it'll airlock. There's only one valve. That's the cold inlet feed to the tank. Close that valve, open up a hot faucet, go back down, screw a hose that'll reach to your floor drain in your mechanical room. Hook the hose up to the drain outlet on the bottom of the tank, run the hose to the floor drain and open it up, let the whole thing drain out. And then usually what we like to do after we've drained the whole thing, blast it with that cold water to get any sediment that's built up on the bottom, stir it up in there, and then let it drain again.
So when you do that blasting technique, you can either close the valve at the bottom or you could just leave that valve open. And then when that water starts coming up to where that valve is, usually not right at the bottom of the tank, so you got a little bit of a reservoir of water. And that's kind of what Carson's talking about. Is usually there's about, a couple inches of whatever water is left on the bottom where sediments just kind of fall into and stay. We're just kind of trying to stir that up and get that sediment out of the tank. The more sediment you can get out of the tank each time you do this, the better for longevity reasons, and your tank will obviously last longer. All right, so one more thing for the hot water tank. Every hot water tank is built with a relief valve. Sometimes these relief valves will start to get loose. The spring will get softer and it won't hold proper pressure. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of sediment stuck in that spring and it'll allow water just to slowly drip. So you want to make sure you keep an eye on that. Do not plug that line. Never ever plug that line. That relief valve is designed to allow pressure to come out of the tank. So if the tank just decides just to keep heating, like if the gas valve fails and the sensor fails on the tank, the aquastat, and it just keeps heating and heating and heating, that tank is going to build up enormous amount of pressure. If the relief valve is plugged, that tank now becomes a bomb and it will blow up and that thing will shoot through your roof. So if that relief valve is dripping, do not plug that relief valve.
And try not to pop it and pull the little lever open, because a lot of times, like, people don't drain your hot water tank through there. That's a big one, because if you pop that thing and then you close it, a lot of times it gets stuck and then you can never get it to close properly again and you're replacing it. They're very finicky valves. Try to stay away from touching them, really.
All right, everybody, thanks a lot for watching, and for those of you that are still listening and made it to the end, thank you very much. Don't forget, there will be a checklist in the link in the description below, a PDF file that you can download so that you can follow all these simple tips and tricks on your own. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Don't forget, smash the subscribe button if you've made it this far, and if you haven't already, guys, thanks a lot. We'll see you on the next one.